Anything else that we didn't cover that you think is really important we should?
You know,
Yep.
Jonathan was talking about the current industry workload versus demand, and we're finding that to be a serious pressure point for us. We think that there's a great demand we have is actually starting to pull students out of the program a little too preliminarily. So we're hopeful that we can get students through the entire scope of the program, where they can go out as fully competent cybersecurity specialists or automotive techs.
So you have students in your program that after, say, a year, or maybe not even that long, there's recruiters coming in and actually taking them out into the field already.
Absolutely.
Wow.
We don't have, I've said this, and I don't think we have an unemployment problem. We have an under-preparation problem. And if we can make sure that the skill set to go to work for Findlay Toyota is complete, then we can guarantee, yes, we can say, Findlay, come on down, we've got the right people for you. Yeah. But they've got to finish the program.
Tell me, are you seeing that? I don't want to make it seem like Findlay Toyota is one of those that's recruiting, but I mean, are you getting students that are coming in that maybe have not had the full education?
I know that the industry is so hungry for technicians. Although we aren't doing it, other dealerships are. You know, over the last 3 years, we sold more cars in the United States than any other 3 years combined. So there's more fresh vehicles out on the road that are going to age with time and are going to need service and maintenance and repair, and so the demand for technicians is only going to get greater as time goes on. And you know, if I found myself in that situation where I needed to, sure, we'd do our best to prepare and make sure that we don't have to do that. But I know that you know, taking a technician 1 year into the program versus somebody that doesn't have any education at all would be our preference.
Speaking to your colleagues, what's happening there? If they are recruiting somebody maybe a little bit too early, is that the type of employee that is not they're not retaining?
I think ultimately they end up bearing more burden than they need to, and I think if they let the student mature in that program, they're going to be much better off. Although it might serve you know, an immediate need or fill an immediate void, long term that person's not going to have the foundation that they need to be as successful as they could. So you know, having some sort of a mediary in-house program that works on developing people so that you don't have to go and do that will definitely be a wiser solution, in my opinion.
Jonathan, you did mention that this is an issue in cybersecurity. I'm wondering what kind of skills are in cybersecurity that are transferable. So it's not necessarily an individual that's going to maybe another cybersecurity job, but is actually changing sectors completely and going into a whole new career.
Well, we often find in the cybersecurity space that the best cybersecurity professionals often come from the IT world, so they already have a very strong background in networking and telecommunications technologies, because then, and these are the types of folks that coming out of CSN, you know, they have the strong technical background, and these are the people that you want, who are essentially looking after the backbone of your organization. Yep. So definitely that, I would say. And to touch on the point we made earlier about certifications, why I think there's a lot of value in certifications in the cybersecurity field is because a lot of them have requirements for continuing education credits in order to keep the professional license live, as it were. So you know that it's not a learn and forget experience. You know, if I want to keep my professional license active, I have to attend X amount of conferences or deliver presentations or demonstrate other learning that's relevant to my industry. So that's a good plus point of hiring certified professionals. And to touch on Mike's point about, you know, how do you incentivize a student, you know, to complete a 4-year degree, you know, when they're already being offered money to join the workforce? You know, we see that it's become quite cost prohibitive to pursue a 4-year degree, and I think it's a common understanding amongst millennials that when they perform their own cost-benefit analysis and realize how much in student loans they're going to have to pay back, it's simply not worth it. So I think a lot of younger folks are pursuing a more technical route and getting themselves you know, professional licenses and certifications as opposed to a 4-year degree.
Especially because cost-benefit analysis is not a term I even knew until I was probably in my 40s. So it shows you what different type of employee we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about demographics then. We talked about age and millennials as one, but in some of these industries, Mike, what you're seeing maybe in enrollments at an institution like CSN, are you seeing specific gender, ethnic, or racial gaps?
Actually, racial and ethnic gaps are less common, less prevalent than gender gaps. We are struggling to get men and women into those fields that have been dominated by that gender. Get men in nursing, for example, women in automotive. And what's particularly interesting is, I'll pick on air conditioning, for example. The women that have gone through our air conditioning program go out in the industry and are stars and make excellent money, excellent promotions, do very well. The same thing happens in automotive and collision repair. There are a lot of fields where that have been male-dominated that are wonderfully executed by the women that come into this field.
Tommy, let's talk about automotive. One thing I mentioned or I didn't mention, but I noticed in the video is your auto bay looks like a doctor's office. I mean, it is clean and it's spotless. This isn't a greasy, wrenching job anymore, clearly by the technical demands.
Yeah, it's really not. You know, at our particular dealership, Finley Toyota, we don't have any female technicians, but throughout our automotive group, we have over 30 dealerships in multiple states, and in many of those dealerships, we have women technicians, and I have personal experience working with female technicians, and in a lot of cases, to Michael's point, they make better technicians in some cases than the men do. So the industry has no preference. We're interested in people that are hardworking, that are motivated, that are knowledgeable, that understand automotive theory, and have great communication skills, and are able to, you know, meet our customers' needs. Our customers don't care whether a man works on their car or a woman works on their car. They care that it was fixed right the first time.
Do you think, I mentioned that because I'm wondering, is there a stigma on just what a auto care job used to be and what it is now?
Yeah, I think there used to be. I think as people get more understanding and knowledge, and as you're able to kind of see more through the advancements in technology, I think people understand that you know, it's not as dark and gloomy as I mentioned before. It's not as dirty and greasy. I mean, they're nice facilities, clean, you know, and vehicles themselves are designed differently. They're much more modular and easy to take apart and put back together. Don't get me wrong, they can be dirty at times, but the frequency of that is much less.
And Jonathan, equitability in cybersecurity, are we seeing gender as even?
Not so much gender. I think when it comes to ethnicity, I see the cybersecurity community here as tremendously diverse ethnically. We're always keen to promote more women in STEM fields and tech professions, and there are some fantastic organizations that facilitate just that. I would mention the Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu. You know, they take you know, young girls in the community and again mentor them and put them on the right career path, the right educational track to find out where they want to be. But it's kind of a reflection, you know, why should there be an organization just for, why do we need a separate organization to help women in tech? You know, there's no gender to smart, there's no color to smart. You know, you're either qualified and capable to do the job or you're not. But what we try to do at SNCA is try to give a stage to some of these marginalized folks so they get their voice heard. And boy, are we glad that we do sometimes.